Hello there and welcome to another video where I talk about some boutique Blu-rays. Today I have a haul of some Kino Lorber 4K discs, which are very hard to get hold of in this country, but I'm excited to show you what I did pick up recently, and maybe this will give you some food for thought on things that you might want to pick up in the future. If you are in the UK and you want to get hold of some of these things I'm about to show you, then there's a great website called Boutique Home Video. They import all of these films to the UK and then they ship them to you. So you get them within a day or two at pretty reasonable prices considering the costs of importing. I'll talk about them a bit later in the video. For now, let's just get into talking about these films. The first of these Kino Lorber 4Ks I got was To Live and Die in LA. And this is a timely one because recently the director, William Friedkin, sadly passed away. So this is a great time to revisit what I think is one of the sort of underrated works in his filmography. Yes, we know Friedkin because of The French Connection, The Exorcist, but this is one that sits in his filmography that I think is actually a very, very good film. And thankfully I can say that the Kino Lorber 4K presentation looks stunning with the Dolby Vision, and it really gives this film what it deserves. And I really, really do hope that more people will check this film out. In the story, we follow William Peterson as an FBI agent who is hunting down the guy that killed his partner. The person he's hunting is played by Willem Dafoe, who gives a great early performance in this film. And the sort of game of cat and mouse between these two guys is so good to watch in this film. To Live and Die in LA is also probably one of the most 1980s films you will ever see. It just looks so 80s. It's vibrant. It's a great neo-noir movie. Iconic soundtrack from Wang Chung. Everything about this is just so 80s. I must say that a big reason why this film looks so good on the 4K is down to that cinematography from the great cinematographer Robbie Mueller, who worked with many great directors. And in particular, this film is just a stunning film to look at. As well as the film itself, you get an audio commentary with Friedkin on the 4K disc, and then a load of special features on the Blu-ray disc that is included. So, I hope I've not overdone it there, but I really do think this is an underrated film, and I hope that more people check it out. Next is a film that I probably should have seen before now, but I was seeing it for the first time on this 4K disc. It's Hard Target, and I know this has a massive cult following due to its kind of notoriety in the VHS era in the 1990s. This is a John Woo movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and if you know those two people and the work that they do, you get a very good picture of what this film is going to be. This film is not hard-hitting realism. This is over-the-top action, tons of slow motion, you might even say an overuse of slow-mo effects, but I think it just works, pitch perfectly for what the film is trying to be. As well as being a great action film and a very entertaining one, it's also quite a beautiful film to watch. The cinematography in this one is great, and I must say that on the 4K disc, I was amazed by how this looks with the Dolby Vision grade. It just was such a great experience watching it on this disc. Seeing it for the first time, I can't compare to how this used to look on previous formats, but for me, this was a perfect viewing experience, and all of the locations and the sets, the real locations of New Orleans that are used in this film, everything just looked beautiful. It really did. There's an audio commentary, there are some interviews on the Blu-ray disc, so an all-around great package again from Kino Lorber. And I must say I'm loving the 4K slipcover designs from Kino Lorber. So if you're into slipcovers and you're not collecting these, then maybe that might tip the balance for you. I don't know, but Hard Target, I had a great time. Next, we have the film Nobody's Fool with our man Paul Newman in a late role. This was the 1990s when this film came out. Directed by Robert Benton, who we might know from Kramer vs. Kramer. And this is a very quiet, moving story about this guy who is growing old in his life. He's still a bit of a a trouble causer, but he's also a bit curmudgeonly. And he is forced into a situation where he has to reconnect with his long-lost son and his son's family and just find a way to be comfortable with growing old and the position that he is in his life. Paul Newman absolutely owns this role, and even late in his career, he's showing why he is considered one of the great American actors of the last century. And he absolutely is, and he gives it his all in this performance. And it's one of those where, after watching it, I can't really imagine anyone else doing this. That's how perfect he was for this role. It helps when you have a supporting cast with the likes of Melanie Griffith, Bruce Willis, and even an early role from Philip Seymour Hoffman, which was great to see. And yeah, just rounds out the cast. Like with those previous 4Ks that I talked about, I forgot to mention these are from original camera negative scans, so they look great, these restorations. And particularly with this one, the location of the film, the snowy town, it's very idyllic. It looks beautiful. It really amplifies that cinematography from John Bailey. A great score from Howard Shore, by the way. Just all around, this film was just a huge surprise for me because it's one that I hadn't seen before. And honestly, I don't know if I'm just on a run with how great these 4Ks from Kino were, but I absolutely loved this film. This one is a bit light on special features compared to the others. There's just a commentary and then 2 interviews. But to be honest, I don't care because the film itself and the presentation was just that good. I said before I'd just quickly talk about boutique home video. If you're in the UK and you want to get some of these Kino Lorbers, it can be very difficult getting them, and if you order from Amazon, to be honest, they most of the time will come damaged, especially with the slip covers. They will come ripped, dented, so you never know what you're going to get. Whereas with boutique home video, they ship next day, so you can get them within a couple of days. If you go over there now, they still have an offer on where if you spend over £100, you get 10% off your order. As well as these Kino Lorber 4Ks, they have Kino Lorber Blu-rays, they have Criterion 4Ks and Blu-rays, and some Shout Factory stuff. So yeah, go over, check out the link in the description, and hopefully it helps. Next, we move into real classic territory for me. One of my favourite directors of the 1960s was John Frankenheimer, and I have his film, The Manchurian Candidate. This is from a new scan of the original camera negative in 4K. Looks beautiful with the Dolby Vision grade. I know I'm repeating myself a lot these days, but they have done a great job with this one. There are certain elements in the film, I think it's just how it was shot, where it looks particularly soft. I don't know if they had to patch up some missing or damaged pieces of the negative with some other film, but there were some bits where it didn't look as great as others. Anyway, so what makes this film so good in my estimation? Well, it is a tight thriller, which is all about conspiracy. Definitely would lead into what would come in the 70s from Alan J. Pakula and some other directors. Lawrence Harvey plays a soldier who may have been brainwashed during the Korean War, and we follow Frank Sinatra as he tries to work out what is going on with his friend. I know I'm really not selling it with my poor description there. Trust me, this is absolutely one of the best films you'll see, and there's an absolutely iconic scene with this garden party, which I won't spoil here, but honestly, such incredible filmmaking from Frankenheimer and all of the actors involved. Speaking of the other actors, you've got Janet Leigh, Angela Lansbury, Henry Silva, a great cast for a great film. And as I mentioned, it looks beautiful on the 4K disc from Kino. I'm so happy because this is a definite upgrade on the old discs from Criterion, and Arrow released it on Blu-ray here in the UK. On the 4K disc you have the commentary from Frankenheimer himself, and then on the Blu-ray there's loads of extra features to dip into. So all around a great package. I love the packaging design and the slipcover. So Kino just absolutely on a roll with these 4Ks. And now let's talk a bit about The Longest Yard, starring Burt Reynolds. This is getting a 4K disc from Kino Lorber, which is amazing because I think this hadn't even been released on Blu-ray. certainly not in the UK. So this was just a real surprise, I think, when this got announced. In The Longest Yard, we follow Burt Reynolds' character, who is a criminal who has been put in prison, and he is tasked with leading the football team, and his team of inmates will prepare to have a game against the guards of the prison. So there's a lot of, obviously, tension, there's loaded kind of commentary in here. Some people say it is a bit dated in terms of its depiction of black people, particularly in this kind of prison scenario. But honestly, I didn't really think that in watching it. I can see why someone would think that, but it certainly didn't harm the viewing of this film at all. I had a great time watching the Kino Lorber 4K, and I don't mean this to disparage the film at all, but this is definitely a dad movie. So it's the kind of film that your dad or your granddad would love to watch on a Saturday afternoon. Again, that's not a bad thing, but it's one of those movies that is just perfect to put on one of those afternoons. On the special features, you've got 2 audio commentaries and some featurettes. So lots to get into after watching the film. Again, this was a real surprise for me. I'm so happy that it has a physical media release that is accessible now, and I can't see this one getting a release in the UK. So if you want this, I definitely recommend importing it. So that was just a quick look at some of the Kino Lorber 4Ks I have been watching lately. I got all of these through Boutique Home Video, so if you're in the UK and you want some of these imports, then check the links in the description. If you want to stick around on the channel and hear my thoughts on some other Kino Lorber 4Ks, then just click the video on screen right now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.